Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This finger show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Supergirl. A lot of stuff went down in this episode. For one, we ended up learning a lot more about Nia in particular. Obviously, he couldn't help but spill it a little bit because obviously, Nia started having these dreams, and it's like, okay, what's up with all of that? It seems like something's going on there, and it turns out Nia's actually an alien, which I had no idea that was the whole situation was going to be. But I thought her whole deal was going to be like what Lena is up to. I thought that was going to make her into a hero, but it's like, no, it's because for one, she's already an alien beyond her ability, because what she can do, it happens once in a generation with her people. So basically, she can see into the future, and also this plays into of course, Brainy already knows who she is because he's from the future, but he's like, I can't tell you guys, he can't tell Alex or Kara because it's fact of the matter is space-time continuum, because if he says anything, it could change everything. But, he kind of hints at oh yeah, I know what's going on with her. Because it seems like her dreams get so vivid. That's what her whole situation was about. I guess she was just scared to kind of tell anyone the truth, which is so interesting because it's oh, this is kind of out in the open, but Kara still never tells her about who she really is and stuff like that. So I think that's just a fascinating thing all on its own. But I love that Nia can, at first she couldn't control it, but now she eventually controls it, because even Brainy was kind of her dreams are kind of open to interpretation. The fact of the matter is she could change things if she wants to. She just needs a little interpretation with it. So when Kara gets herself captured, Nia goes alone too. And I love that. It's dangerous. What I forgot what was that Kara said exactly, but it was basically putting yourself in danger means you're kind of on the right track. And she's like, that sounds crazy. She's like, say that, tell that to Lois Lane. And then you have Nia being like, who's that? And you have Kara looking like, you don't know who Lois is? Come on. Which, to be fair, it's to be fair, well, for one, Lois is the, well-renowned lawyer. I said lawyer, reporter that she is. But also at the same time, it's well, you kind of have a direct line. She's married to your cousin, so it's kind of of course you know her even more so. But at the same time, I guess it's you're working at Catco and don't know who she is. Especially considering the fact is that Cat and Lois go back like that. So I just think that's kind of a fascinating thing, and I just love that being an aspect to this whole situation. And I like that Nia can apply her abilities in interesting ways, the fact of the matter, she lifted the chains up just as a bullet was coming because she saw it coming. I also major props to, once again, Brainy. It's so badass seeing him fight because he's dodging a bullet, pew, pew, kick, then slips the ring on that lady's fingers, it knocks her up and then brings her back down hard, and it flies off her finger and back onto his. I'm like, yo, I didn't know the Legion ring could do something like that. To be fair, we've never seen the full capabilities of it, but I was like, that's so dope. I also love that little moment Kara has when they end up finding out about who Agent Liberty really is. She dashes away, her phone's holding it in the air, her glasses are spinning in there. I'm like, that's a classic superhero thing, I think, and I thought that was kind of pretty dope. But I also love because obviously tying this off with the other side of things, there's the whole Manchester thing, which played out exactly like I thought it would. Granted, his son didn't get involved in it, but Manchester at first was kind of hey, yo, oh, buddy, oh yeah, I know good old Ben from university days. Oh, for the gift, for him, and that he gave me and my fiance, Fiona, and it hit Ben then. So, what I also thought was kind of interesting, that Ben was actually going to leave Agent Liberty behind to a certain extent. I guess because for him it was kind of no, Agent Liberty already kind of whipped up the extremists, so let me as Ben kind of whip up the average folk, the typical person. So I guess maybe it's just because all that was happening, he was actually a little bit scared, so he was like, no, I need to spend time as Ben and not Agent Liberty. Or maybe that there was no extra bit to it. Maybe it was simply because it's more proactive, and it's a smarter move to make just being Ben that can rile people up that way. Maybe that's what that's meant to be, because he's supposed to represent, as Ben, he can represent the human element, whereas Agent Liberty is behind this mask and he gets the more extremist people, but the more average person, with his words, he can easily sway them, because it's oh, they're looking at him in the face, so it adds the same layer of, I guess arguably we could make it the same thing as Kara, because people see Supergirl, it gives them a face of their hero. So I guess someone who's kind of making you understand, oh, look at Ben, he's just another normal person, and he's speaking certain things that kind of make a little sense to people. I'm guessing that's kind of the justification for it, but It is kind of interesting that Karen still did never tell Nia, but I guess it's kind of like less people who know the better, because the only people who know are the people that are close to her. Jimmy only knows because, well, Jimmy's close with, you know, Clark, and Clark was like, yo, look out for my cousin, I know exactly who she is. Obviously, the only other person she's told within the show is Win, right? I think Win's like the only person who wasn't in the know who found out about her identity, because everyone else just, I don't know. Well, I mean, Supergirl, well, I guess Barry, but I don't count that because that's hero. That's secret identities between heroes, so it shouldn't really count in that regard. But still, which obviously that plays a big role, but I'm going to talk about that later. But that whole Manchester thing was kind of interesting. I was curious to see how his wife would react, Ben's wife, and it's like Manchester makes her confront it. And it's like, she's like, tell me that this isn't true, but, you know, and you have John trying to reach through to Manchester, but he's not willing to. Because for him, it's like, I have to put an end to this. Because he's like, because he even tells Supergirl, like, the fact of the matter is you believe in this. And the fact of the matter is, like, you'll just be a roach to them. You can put on a cape and be a superhero, but they'll always look at you as an alien. They won't look at you as their hero forever. The fact of the matter is, if you don't wipe him and all these terrorists out now, the fact of the matter is, it's kind of like he's kind of treating them like a cancer that needs to be scraped away. But to be fair, like, doing things your way wouldn't make anything better. It would make you feel better, but that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Kara's trying to go about it the right way, because she's like, the point is we have to be better than them. Us doing that will make us no different from them. And so that turns into a situation of like, because he's saying like, do you want to work with the government and handle this, or do you want to work with me to kind of end this all once and for all? Because it's like a never-ending battle, right? But it's like, together we can make it so it isn't one. But she's held by the nth metal, and that stuff is pretty strong, if even she kind of has a hard time breaking from it like that. So, which, side note, that move she made, he's like, there's no reason to try and struggle. She's like, I'm not struggling, I'm trying to fly. I'm like, yo! Lifts up, using the nth metal holding her down, she lifts up the entire building with her flight, which once again shows you how strong that is, and brings it down, bam, and the height, and I guess like the power in which she's lifting with it kind of probably cracked it enough so that the final fall was enough to break it. So that was pretty dope. It's like, yo, look at that strength, dude. That's awesome, using your flight like that. I wonder, that's got to be something that's happened in the comic books, using their like flight strength like that. It's a combination of their strength plus, you know, because like, is it their power, like, because the justification for them flying is like, they grab Earth's normal gravity doesn't really work for them. Like, it's much lesser for them, or very, I guess their superhuman strength makes it so that they can just push off. So it's more like a glide than it is technically a flight. I think is somehow some canon has kind of interpret like Superman's flight. It kind of makes it, I think that's like in the Man of Steel, like the whole DCEU, quote unquote, because obviously that's in the movies. It seems like that was a justification for like the science fiction behind why he can fly. It's more like he's gliding because he's able to jump at super speeds, and the gravity can't pull him down. It's kind of what it seems like. It's just me going off on a tangent, so I do apologize. But a little assistance from Nia knocking the staff out of Manchester's hand. It also makes me wonder, I do think like he was threatening to kill her just so that he can make things even between him and Ben, make him suffer and feel the same way he does. Before last episode, was saying like, there's no way he'd actually do it. This episode, honestly, I think like after saying that, he had the staff ready and everything, I think he was really going to kill her just so he would be able to do it, because it's like, for him, that was the only way to make them even. I'm assuming he'd probably kill him afterwards, but after making him feel like that. Or maybe he would have taken out every other agent, Children of Liberty, and then came after him. You know, it's actually kind of interesting. I think I meant to bring this up before, but it's kind of interesting, the whole Agent of Liberty. You know, it just because it was a thing, but the whole Telltale Batman situation in season 1, the Children of Arkham, is kind of a similar thing, kind of like aesthetic in a certain regard. So I just thought it was kind of interesting, kind of thinking about it. I think I've thought about it before, but it wasn't. I figured I'm thinking about it now, so I might as well just kind of break it over the comparisons up. It's just kind of an interesting thing. So, combination of everyone working together, and even love, like Nia being like, oh, Supergirl. She's like, you're Nia, right? Thanks. Which we also learned from Brainy, I'm assuming, because you're saying like her name is Nora, which I'm wondering, is that supposed to be kind of like a play on the word like neural, kind of like brain stuff, considering the fact is that she sees, I'm guessing, maybe not, but I love that he let that slip. And she's like, Nora? And he's like, what? I didn't call her Nora. Did you call her Nora? Yeah, no one here called you Nora. It's like, you're terrible at, like, not letting the future go. So I guess for him, it's like, I got to let her become who she's going to become first. Then I might be able to let everyone know later on, like, okay, this is how things kind of go down. So it is kind of interesting on that front. But then I love that, like, Ben tried to twist it around because he's like, yeah, but the fact is you now know who I am. Look what they did to me. I fought this. I thought he was trying to make it seem like Supergirl did that, beat him up and everything. To be fair, once again, it's like, you're letting go of the details of, like, and I'm sure it's a detail that doesn't really get circulated. It was a human that was beating the crap out of him because that human loved an alien and stuff like that. This man mass murdered all these different people. He killed someone that I loved, but I guess that doesn't get as much play. But then it's like, oh, you know who I am. What about her? Can you say the same thing about Supergirl? It's like, don't tell me they're really, and they do. It turns into a situation of like, well, now that we think about it, who is Supergirl? It's like, it's never been an issue for the past like 3 or 4 years. She's been Supergirl, and now all of a sudden, because it's that situation of she's the most powerful alien. It's like she's the alien that people love, but for the fact of the matter is, now everyone's going to call into question her identity because it's like, oh, she gets to hide who she is. Even the president's come to her being like, yeah, we need some transparency going forward with the DEO, so that means she has to reveal her identity. But it's like, she's like, if it will put everyone I love in danger. He's like, my family is protected by the Secret Service. The fact of the matter, it's kind of like country has to come first. It's like, yeah, this will put my family in danger, but this is right for the country, and so on and so forth, which you understand about it. At the same time, it's like, yeah, but your situation, yeah, it's scary. It's a terrible situation, but we're in the DC universe. She's got literal supervillains coming after her, and you want supervillains kidnapping the people she cares about most. That's typically how these type of situations come out the moment a superhero's identity is revealed, which is interesting because literally Kara's literally going through the same thing Oliver did last season, because it's like, once again, it brings up that question like, well, what do you do about that? Like, what does Oliver do? Because now that everyone knows his identity, it's like the people he cares about will always be in danger. Literally, Ricardo Diaz was able to come after him and the people he loves, which included his son and his wife, because he knew who Oliver was as the Green Arrow. It's like, obviously that's taking place on another Earth, so you can't use that for example, but it's like, obviously, we don't, well, they've hinted at it, but it's like Batman is a thing. Would you hold Batman to the same standard? But it's like, Supergirl's out there and everything. She's literally not even wearing a mask, but I guess it is a thing of like, hey, she has her secret identity. But it's like, it's not 1-to-1, dude. It's like, you don't see Supergirl going around killing people. She's literally saved the city, and, well, not just, she saved the city multiple times, she saved the world multiple times, and you're not going to cut her a little. It's like, no, let Supergirl keep her identity. Because even Alex can't be like, no, I know her secret identity, because I'm sure that would just cause more flack for her. And it's like, we can't trust your word alone. You knowing her secret identity isn't enough. Besides, also, she talks about the fact that I know her secret identity. They'll probably put Alex under some scrutiny to find out her identity, in the sense of like, they'll try to push her to reveal it, or they'll follow her to try and find out Supergirl's identity. So it doesn't have, it's not the same thing. So it's kind of sad, because in the end, Ben has won in a certain regard. You even have his wife supporting him in the end. It's like, does she believe this? Because you saw what happened, you heard what happened, you know who your husband is, but now you support him. Is it because, even you were like, please don't tell me. At the beginning, you didn't support him, but it's like, are you supporting him now because it's like, it's your husband, you want him out of jail, so you're willing to support some of the terrible things he does? Or is it because you actually believe him? I don't know. It seems like it could be both, which that whole situation kind of made me wonder, because obviously this is the whole other side of this thing we haven't really tackled. It's come up like twice so far this season at the end of an episode. It's the whole Red Son storyline, I guess in this regard, Red Daughter storyline. It's like, that's kind of like, I'm wondering, is that supposed to be like the second half of the season? It probably will play into this part of the season too, but I'm curious, like, are they doing like two separate storylines? One, like, it's being this whole like thing, or like, I'm curious to see how the whole Red Daughter storyline plays into this. I feel like it can mash pretty well, because it's like her off somewhere else causing all these issues in like Russia, and then it ends up circulating like, oh, Supergirl's doing this and that over there, but it's like, oh, she's here, and it's like, oh, like, turn people against her even more, which will just make people support Ben even more, because it's like, oh, Supergirl's gone off the deep end, she's done this and that. Potentially, that's how I see that storyline setting up. That was my thought process with this whole situation, because these storylines happen to be coexisting at the same time. So that's my thought process, but we'll kind of see. But it's sad, because like, so many people, Because even Jimmy was like, now that people know who he really is, they'll kind of burn him essentially. But it's like, no, more people have rallied behind him because they support him as Ben, and now realizing that him and Agent Liberty are the same person, it's even more, it's fueling the fire even more, because for them it's like Ben speaks from the human element, because it's like, this is a human we can back up, because it's like the whole Ben element I was bringing up earlier, like they know his face, he's some Joe, he's some regular guy fighting for our rights. It's like, look at him, he did what he thought was right, he did what's right for the country, for humanity. And it's like, dude, while Kara's losing her job at the DEO, and it, you know, because I wonder, does everyone at the DEO feel that same way of like, she needs to reveal her identity? To be fair, they all know, she knows all their identities, but she's the only one that gets to walk around with a secret identity. It's like, oh. I mean, that's kind of why Clark kind of probably does, though. I mean, one of many reasons why he doesn't really do the whole working with other people thing. I mean, to be fair, that's why the whole Justice League is a thing, because you don't really have to worry about that. But then that turns into that situation of there shouldn't be a power. That's kind of like, at least in a cartoon, that's how Amanda Waller kind of got the position that she's got, because it's like, I think she kind of feels like that in general. Where, well, to be fair, she doesn't, well, doesn't mean she doesn't exist on this Earth. We know she's dead in, on Earth 1, but I mean, who's to say Lila doesn't eventually become like that? I didn't even think about that. Like, maybe that's the reason why Argus becomes the way it is in the future that Zari's from. It's because of that aspect of like superheroes and people with powers have kind of run rampant. Hence why she wants to put metahumans behind bars and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting considering the whole Cicada storyline that's going on right now too, with him knocking out or killing metahumans and stuff like that. So there's that. So there's also the Manchester angle that I think is neat, that John hasn't given up on him, because he's like, the fact of the matter is, at first he was like, the light he saw in Manchester doesn't seem like it's there anymore, but the fact of the matter is, he's like, you think I'm weak for not wanting to kind of give into violence? And he's like, well, yes. And he's like, you know, I think of it as a personal defect, but John is like, it's a defect that you want shared. The fact is, he's like, you think my soul is up for grabs, kind of between like heaven and hell kind of inside of him? And he's like, yeah, it is. He's like, and I think you believe that too, which Manchester kind of is right about his mentality of like, this is how things should be handled, because, well, in the sense of like, he knew that things wouldn't change by Kara simply arresting Agent Liberty, but I don't know. They are in the same prison too, so there's always a possibility he might do something. But for him, it's like, at this point in time, if he did something to Agent Liberty, all he'd be doing is making him a martyr. But for him, his revenge might kind of offset that. We might have Manchester kind of getting locked up in solitary confinement. Even the guards might support what Ben does, so they'll probably be like, oh no, put him in solitary confinement because, you know, people might turn against him, that type of thing. Hell, even people in the prison might rally around him because they support him. It's hard to say what's going to happen with that situation, but I'm very interested to see where this all goes. Very interested in the Nia situation, Kara's situation, because it's like because I'm sure even being Supergirl by herself is going to catch her some flack on both fronts, because the DEO is probably going to be like, oh, no. You could do what you wanted to before to a certain degree because you were working with us. You no longer have the government's backing because you won't, unless you reveal your identity to us. And it's like, but the fact of the matter is, if she reveals her identity to you, it's going to make her more of the government's weapon rather than her being there trying to be for the people. It's just going to make her more of their weapon. And that's what it seems like they're kind of doing more and more. John kind of gave her the freedom to do what she needed to do to be the hero she needs to be. But it seems like they're trying to confide her down. And it's like, they have their way of running things. In particular, Haley does, and so does the president. But to him, it seems like more so like it's his own personal situation, because he even talked about, like, if you think this Agent Liberty capture is going to make my ratings go back up in the polls and stuff like that, then do it. It's like, it seems like that's all you care about. You know, it doesn't seem like you have the best intentions going forward. I mean, yes, you might have them in some regards, but it seems like your first and foremost thought are selfish aspects, you know? So kind of the acclaim and glory seems to be what you're more so after. He seemed like he was a decent dude the first time we met him, and that's why I was kind of like, yeah, I was going to wait to see if there was going to be a turnaround with his character. Kind of has in some regard, but we'll kind of have to wait and see what ends up happening with all that. And then we got to talk about that ending, which is obviously set up for the crossover. I like that. Like, obviously, everyone that's on the battlefield is a hero, because I saw Green Arrow, but it was Green Arrow wearing the outfit from Smallville. That was a nice touch. It looked like the helmets of both Hulks. We saw the Ray's helmet, from Earth 52, but obviously it's a different race because this is Earth 90, which is funny because obviously we're getting John Wesley Shipp as the Flash, which he was in the 90s. So I guess this is supposed to represent this is his Earth, which is Earth 90, which I thought there was only supposed to be 50, because I thought the multiverse went much further than just 52. But maybe this is going to explore that more, to like, oh, the multiverse is a lot bigger, because it's like, because the whole thought of the multiverse is supposed to be infinite amount of worlds, so it's like there's really only 52. I think that they're aware of. I think that's it. There's only 52 worlds that they're aware of in the multiverse, so there are a lot more, and this is setting that up. But I'm sure it's also 90 because it's like, yeah, because it's kind of pulled. I'm guessing maybe these are all their outfits from the 90s in certain regards, like the outfit that Oliver has from Smallville, like maybe that's what that's supposed to be. We also saw Captain Cold there. It looked like it was Firestorm too, like one of the earlier bodies. I'm sure there's other heroes you can point out, like boom, boom, that's gotta be this, this, and that. But we see Barry run away as whoever it is saying, like, you brought this upon yourself, this destruction. Side note, that actor looks so familiar, but I can't place him, the bad guy in that regard. So that's very interesting. I'm excited to see that. If you're unaware, the crossover is next week. And so, in general, if you want to end things here, I have finished up my general thoughts about the entire episode. Going forward, this is going to be doing a little housekeeping. I'll break it down. If you're curious about the crossover, if you didn't catch the dates and stuff like that, next week on Sunday, it won't be Supergirl. It will be The Flash. And then on Monday, obviously, Arrow, like typically. And then on Tuesday will be Supergirl. Do note that these switches between Supergirl and The Flash will only be during the crossover. After that, they will go back to the respective days. But that's how the crossover event is running down. Now, other housekeeping news. If you're curious about how I'm going to handle the crossover event, it's going to be how I typically handle these crossovers in the aspect of reviewing. Basically, when it comes to The Flash, rather than, I'm going to be watching that part, recording my thoughts. Then I'm going to do this, but I won't upload it by itself. The next day, I'll do the same thing for Arrow, and then the following day, I'll do that for Supergirl, and then I'll put all three, of me recording my thoughts, all three together as one package to go up, on Wednesday. So it's a little confusing, but rather than being three different not too comic books, it'll all be in one. So I'll put up a video. I haven't edited it yet, but it'll most likely go up Tuesday, kind of explaining that. So, like I said, just adding a little housekeeping here at the end. So I'm very excited to see what the crossover is like. I'm also curious to see what Arrow and Flash have in mind for, their portion of the setup. So we'll just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good